Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. What was supposed to be the last class of Moshiach Decoded, in my study that I did in preparing this class, I realized this is not the last class in Moshiach Decoded. I will need at least one more, and maybe two more. I want to thank the Werdiger family again for their dedication of this series. So everything culminates in this last subject. The question on the flyer and the series, the title of the class is "What Now?" In a sense, I say that I tremble, or I should say, at least I should tremble in giving this class. I'm not trembling, I'll be honest with you, I don't. But in my head, I realize that I should be trembling. The reason for that is we're talking about the most important subject in all of history, in all of time. We're talking about the greatest responsibility ever given to a human being. And to who is that responsibility given? To whoever showed up to this class. It's really every Jew, but every Jew living in our generation today. But if you came to this class, you might hear, you might want to cut and run now. If you came to this class, you might get to hear about that responsibility. Or else we can be numb and completely uninformed and unaware of where we stand right now. We've developed in all the classes until this point the whole concept of Moshiach and the process of Moshiach's coming. And we also discussed last week that we have already a prophecy of Hine Moshiach. Now, I want to say, anybody that wants something really, really important to listen to, last week I recorded, no one was here, I recorded online on YouTube. It's not on my website, it's only on YouTube. It's called Has Prophecy Returned? What I really did was I did a synopsis of that amazing talk that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in Tafshin Nun Aleph Parshas Shoftim in the summer, in which I just went through the Sikha, which if you can listen to it, is really, really worth it, because we're dealing with an unbelievable, unprecedented revelation. And that is basically that before Mashiach comes, prophecy returns to the Jewish people, and that nevuah, that prophecy returned already, and how the Lubavitcher Rebbe explains that it begins with the Baal Shem Tov, and how it culminates in himself, and that he is saying that he is the Navi of the generation, and also that he is giving the nevuah regarding that the Bias Mashiach is now. So that's awesome. That's telling us that we're in the zone. We're in the zone of the zone of the zone. We've also explained, this is important. I am encouraging anybody that listens to this class today, it will be probably meaningless to you, unless you yourself have been studying this subject in depth. But if you haven't, it'll be meaningless to you to listen to this unless you have the background of what we've discussed. This is a last class that's built on it's like, a doctor going to medical school for 5-6 years, and then finally there is a instruction of a meticulous little of what you do when you're actually doing the surgery, how you do the incision, and so on and so forth. If you don't have the background information of 5 years of medical school, you're doing yourself a tremendous disservice by just taking that last class. You have no business being there. I am saying to everybody, this is not a joke. I don't want you to take my words just from what I'm saying now and cut and paste. We've spoken now for already over 20 classes, 20 hours in which we discussed and explored. We discussed and we explored the essence of Moshiach. What is Moshiach? And in brief, we've developed the idea that Moshiach is the one who actualizes the Eibishter's, God's purpose in creation, desire in creation, primarily that Hashem should be the king over the entire world. Moshiach Tzidkenu is the soul and the person through which God's kingship manifests itself in the world. Meaning it's wrong to believe that the Eibishter is a melech in an abstract form. The Eibishter's Malkhus becomes actualized through a physical human being who is a king. And he's not, using a silly word, kinging of his own. He's kinging Hashem's kingship. We found that by Shlomo Melech already, when it says, Vayeshev Shlomo al Kisei Hashem. That Shlomo Melech is sitting on God's throne, not on his own throne. That's the father of Moshiach. So Moshiach is actualizing the Eibishter's kingship, God's kingship, which is the purpose of all of creation. We've discussed in the earlier classes that once the Eibishter chose David HaMelech as the seed through which, or the person through which he is the one who can funnel, transmit, and actualize, facilitate the Eibishter's kingship, it became inherent to David HaMelech, and it passes through the genes of his children, and that the Malkhus of Beis David cannot have a hefsek, and meaning it can't have an interruption, the Davidic dynasty. Because once Hashem is established as king over the world through David HaMelech, Hashem didn't have a manifest kingship in this world until David HaMelech came. It began at Har Sinai, Hashem's establishment as a melech over the world, but it came in stages until there was someone who can capture it. Shaul HaMelech was not the chosen one because it had to be ultimately from Shevet Yehuda. And then it was King David, and then Hashem made a promise. And Hashem told David HaMelech that even if the kingship will be contested, or even if temporarily there might be other kings, their kingship, like we find in history of the Jewish people, the kings of the Aseret HaShvatim, that will evaporate. It won't last. It doesn't have any lasting power because it's not the true Malchus of the Eibishter. It's not capturing the Eibishter's Malchus. The Eibishter's Malchus only has one keli. You know what that keli is? The neshama of David HaMelech, which is the vessel. Just like you can't run a certain program unless you have the right kind of a computer that is meant. Sometimes you have certain things, and if you're using Windows 95, you can't run a modern computer system that's running today because you just don't have the keli for it. There is one and only one keli for the manifestation of God's kingship in the world, and that is the neshama of David HaMelech, and that channels through all of his children, and eventually emerges in its ultimate manifestation, in its full power and its full glory, in the human being who is a descendant of David, that's Melech HaMashiach. But we discussed how this Malchus makes its way through history. During the time of exile, it still exists, but it becomes very, very hidden and very concealed. It's empowering the Jewish people, and it's influencing, it's keeping the Eibishter connected to the world throughout the darkest moments of history. But then it reappears, and it becomes again more revealed as we get closer to the end of exile, as we're getting closer to the Geula. And as we discussed, the qualities of Malchus, what it's supposed to do, who the king is. The king cares about everybody, about all the Jewish people, cares about the world, reveals Hashem in the world, sparks the Jewish people with an energy that's just beyond we've ever seen, that you don't generally, regular tzaddikim and rabbanim and leaders and Rosh Hashivas just don't have it. There is something unique about their energy and their power it's almost like mystical, where they have that energy and that power, and that it's directed towards all of the Jewish people. And that the bond that there is between the people and these kings is extraordinary, way, way beyond anything else. And you see that they are totally selfless, devoted to the Jewish people on levels that we've never seen. And we said, and I proved this to you, that all of this becomes more apparent as we get closer to the final king. So we had discussed that began to reveal itself through the Baal Shem Tov, and then the successor of the Baal Shem Tov, and how that was revealed through the Admoirei Chassidus, Chabad, Reb Shneur Zalman of Liadi, people who took responsibility for the Jewish people, people who educated a generation. In addition to that, as part of the revelation of the Eibishter's kingship in the world, which doesn't only manifest God's kingship, it manifests God himself into the world. Because as we spoke layers, if you remember, in the first series, we discussed, in addition to the Eibishter wanting to be a king over the world, it's much deeper. The Eibishter wants to move into this world, to have a home in this world, that his essence is revealed. So along with the revelation of kingship comes the revelation of Hashem himself, Atzmos, as we say, God's very self, into the creation. The more Hashem moves into this world, the more we get to know his secrets, his private self. That's why, along with the Gilui of the Eibishter's Malkhus, which means the power of sovereignty over the creation and over the world, also comes a deep intimacy with God. It means we get to know Hashem like we've never known before, and that's why we discussed Gilui HaMoshiach is related with Gilui of Pnimiyas HaTorah. And that was the subject primarily when we spoke about the process, that the tahalich, the process of Gilui of Pnimiyas HaTorah, which is the Gilui of Moshiach in this world, is the channel, is the thread through which Moshiach comes through the world. It's a process. It's not a one-time event. It's a process. So I've showed you how that goes through a history, and it passes through the various, it evolves throughout history, and it evolves through the calendar of the 6 days of creation. As we spoke, that there was a cosmic clock, six days, 6 millennia, and so on and so forth. And how it gets intensifies as we reach Friday, Thursday night, which is the beginning of Friday midday. And as I showed you, it's unbelievable today. It's if you look through we listen to those previous classes, how it follows methodically, perfectly, what happened in the beginning of the 6th millennium, the revelation of the Zohar. 3/4 into the night, the revelation of the Arizal. It's getting closer. The last third of the night reached in the morning. The Baal Shem Tov comes at the crack of dawn. And it intensifies and it becomes clearer and clearer in the leadership of the successors of the Baal Shem Tov, how they are leading towards Moshiach, taking more and more responsibility for the generation, influencing the Jewish people in a new way of service and a much deeper commitment to the Eibishter, one that relates to their Pnimiyas HaNeshama, one that relates to simcha, to joy, to the highest type of a connection to Hashem. And how that reached its peak in the year 1990 when we reached Chatzos, midday. And how the Lubavitcher Rebbe at that time said, Hegi Azman Gulaschem, the time of the redemption has arrived. It's interesting that one might ask and say, well, this is unbelievable. So why is it so shrouded? Why is it so unclear? Why is it so dark? Why are there so many questions? Why are there only just a few out of many that know this or believe in this and see this, and the rest of the world is oblivious to it? Why is it that perhaps those who have this emunah almost feel insecure and feel like they have to defend themselves in this emunah when this is the highest, deepest truth? Why is it in so many circles almost like a taboo belief? believe this? Something wrong. And it bothers me deeply. So there's two things, and very, very important things. And that is, if we take a look at the entire revelation of Moshiach in the world, is that it's shrouded in a certain concealment. We're learning Chassidus Shabbos in the morning, and we were learning that the sun you can't look at. You look at the sun, it's too bright. The Rebbe once expressed himself in the Sikha. The Rebbe said that it's possible that people are standing and they're looking at the greatest treasure, but they're not noticing this greatest treasure because they're looking to the sides. They're looking here and they're looking to the side. And the Rebbe continues. For all the years people have been waiting for Moshiach Tzidkeinu. The people are looking at the treasure and they're just not noticing it. Because of its intense brightness, it just gets obscured. So we took a look at the story of Mashiach as it makes its way into the world. There is always, let's put it this way, the Rabbanim am kemel nicht gehalten von them. What am I saying? The rabbis of the Jewish people, at the time when the phases of Mashiach were happening, the general Jewish public didn't get it. Only after it's made its entry, that's when they got it. David HaMelech was very unpopular. He was the black sheep of the family. And when he was appointed king, the head of the Sanhedrin and everybody, the Gedolei HaTorah, we might call them Ayatzes Gedolei HaTorah, the Agudas Yisroel, the Ichud Rabbanim, or whatever you would call them, were not with him. You see it throughout history. It was always it always came through a mystery. Yehuda and Tamar, Boaz and Rus. It was always like on the border of kosher, not kosher, yeah, no. Yishai and David HaMelech's mother, and then David and the Batsheva, and then that's the way it makes its way through history. It shouldn't be a chidush that when it finally reaches its ultimate culmination, there is a blurriness and there is a confusion. But we have to realize that the Eibishter never gives us a test without giving us the solution for the test. That means we were given the empowerment to be able to have clarity. So the Rebbe gave us, in that particular book, which I would say is the most crucial sefer to learn these days, the most crucial sefer to learn, most important book before you learn anything else, are the talks the Rebbe gave in the last year. From when he basically revealed that Moshiach is already here in the world, until the last talk that he gave. In those talks, the Rebbe gives us unbelievable instructions about what we need to do in order to bring about the Geula. Gives us instructions. Because that book is such bright light, such unbelievable Giluyim, precisely because of that, people are afraid to read it. There's an intimidation. People are scared. It's the most beautiful teachings. People are afraid. When I say people, I mean even devout followers of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. There's so much light there. It's like the Rebbe himself said, it's Oiros de Toyu. These are the lights of Toyu, which means these are the lights, the ultimate lights of the Geula. They are given to us in Kelim de Tikkun. If you sit down and use Kelim de Tikkun, means vessels that can receive that light. But for that, you have to sit down, learn them, explore them, understand them, and absorb the light of the Geula. Now, why is it so crucial? Why is it so crucial? It's so crucial because, for most people in the world who didn't study the Geula, the idea of Moshiach and the Geula, they're expecting a Moshiach that comes out of the sky and suddenly, oh, the Golus is over, Moshiach is here, let's go to Yerushalayim, let's build the Beis HaMikdash. It's fundamentally wrong. The reason it's fundamentally wrong is because that's Geulas Mitzrayim, that's not Geula of the Moshiach. Geulas Mitzrayim is a Geula. Chassidus, it explains, in Mitzrayim, the Jewish people were not, the world wasn't ready for godliness. But Hashem needed to start the process of making the world holy. So Hashem had to suspend nature, break the world to make a statement. Because the world was not yet, when Hashem created the world, especially the process of creation is a process of concealment. So the world is created in a way that it needs work in order for it to become a home for God. And initially, it's inhospitable to Hashem. It's uninviting, it's blocking. So Hashem had to suspend nature, hold it down in order to reveal himself. That was that revelation. But then we were given Torah and mitzvahs that for thousands of years we should work the world, work ourselves to become kelim, to become vessels for that light, for the Geula, for the godly revelations of Moshiach. That's why it's a process. If it's coming from Hashem, Hashem can do it in a split second, can blow all the klippas away, can blow all evil away, destroy all garbage that there's out there, clean up the whole world and reveal himself. Of course he can do that in a split second. Hashem is beyond time, he's an omnipotent being, can do anything. But then, it wouldn't be ours. The Eibishter wants it should be thoroughly, it should be ours. So that's why it takes 3,500 years of work. Just like the general concept of preparing the world for Mashiach is something that can't come from above, it's something that has to come from below, from us. The same is also the actual Gilui HaMashiach in the world. The final Gilui doesn't come Omayla Lamata. Doesn't come from above, it comes from below. Now, I shouldn't say it doesn't come from above. It will come from above. But it does require some serious work on our part to make ourselves a vessel for that incredible revelation that's going to come from above. Last week, Bahashgacha Pratis, let me just share with you. Bahashgacha Pratis, I give a Shir Mashiach Matters on Thursday, and I came across a little teaching from the Maloi Haroyim. Maloi Haroyim is one of the Mefarshim al-Shas. So basically, I think in this tiny phrase, it explains everything in which this Nakuda that I'm talking about now. It's a pasuk when it talks about the Eibishter here, a discussion between Avimelech and Yitzchak. Here we go. It says like this. Avimelech comes. It's a pasuk there. Avimelech says to Yitzchak, "Im tasi imanu ra." If you're going to do with us bad, kashaloi neganucha v'kashrasinu imcha rak toiv. Treat us nicely. Avimelech is telling Yitzchak. It's interesting. The Maloi Haroyim. Okay, this is a Bal Migla, not a Bal Nister. He says that in this pasuk is mirum is the whole Indian of the Geula, and he says like this: Im tase imanu. If you're going to do the Geula for us, which means the Eibishter, if we force God to do it on his own, ra, it's not so good. V'kasher asinu imach, but if we're doing it with you, rak toiv is only good. And the deeper meaning of that is, you see, if we're forcing the Eibishter to do it and we're not kalim, then there are many things in us that clash with that revelation. So therefore, it's possible that certain things within us can break. Can be some kind of a shvira sakelim in that process. But if we're prepared and we do the avodah, then we're able to receive it and internalize it, and it's one, and it's geschmack, and it's wholesome, and it's real, and it's deep. Therefore, brings us to the place that we spoke about last week. shouldn't be shocking to anyone. And I brought this from the Sfas Emes last week, in which it says clearly that Bias ben David lechud and Geula lechud. Sfas Emes, Pirush ala the Gemara, not Sfas Emes ala Torah. Sfas Emes is like a Chassidic Rebbe, but he's a goyen adir in Igla. And he writes in Masechtas Rosh Hashanah Daf Yud Aleph that you don't think that Bias HaMashiach, the moment Mashiach is here, the Geula is here. So it doesn't have to be that way. Moshiach comes and the Geula comes at a period of time later. Like by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu arrived to Mitzrayim and there was no Geula. All he had was a meeting with the Jewish people and he had to prove that he is the Goyel. And he had, from the Eibush, to prove that he didn't believe, the Her Ayin. It took a while. And then the Geula only came a year later. Not only that, things got worse. So Sfas Emes says, Moshiach will come. First he says it could come. And doesn't mean that one moment the world will snap once Mashiach comes to the Jewish people. He reveals himself that he's Mashiach. Then what? The Geula has to come. And he says, Kimavua Mahamed Rashim, it looks like that's the way it's going to be. That Mashiach comes, reveals himself, is afterwards concealed, and then revealed, and then he reveals himself again. Says the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Tafshin Nun Aleph. The Rebbe kept on referring to an interesting thing. The Rebbe kept on saying, we've reached Shnas HaTzadik, the 90th year. The Rebbe became 90 years old. So this is the ultimate time for the redemption. Why? Because the Geula of Mitzrayim came when Moshe Rabbeinu was 80 years old. Because the power, the key to the Geula was in the words Pakoid Pakadati. And the Medrash says the 5 letters that repeat itself in the Torah, the 5 double letters known as Menatzpach, Mem, Nun, Tzadik, Peichav, they are the key to the Geula. In them and these letters lies the energy of the redemption. And the Rebbe explained it, why the double letters represent the Geula. The Geula of Mitzrayim was with the letter Pei, so the Goyel was Pei, arrived when he was 80 years old. The Rebbe says the Geula Asida is coming through the letter Tzadik, Tzemach Tzomachti, and therefore, in Shnas HaTzadik, Moshiach reveals himself in the 90th year. So in that year, there was a lot of things happening in the world. There was the Iraq, the Saddam Hussein was then threatening Eretz Yisroel with chemical weapons. And the Jews were terrified. They were handing out gas masks. The Rebbe was telling them, the Jewish people, don't be afraid. You can watch the videos again and again. Don't be afraid. Eretz Yisrael is the safest place. You don't need gas masks, and so on and so forth. Now, these tyrants have no problem gassing people. Today, the report came out that Assad had over 300 gas attacks to his own people. Tyrants like this don't care about anything else but themselves. So for them to chas v'sholem, for Saddam Hussein to lob over chemical weapons to Eretz Yisrael was obviously the probability, especially if he felt threatened. You know, a lion or an animal acts in the most dangerous way when they feel threatened. So, al pi teva, he should have done that. The Rebbe said he's not going to do anything. And the Rebbe then kept on pointing to a Yalkut Shemaini, where the Yalkut Shemaini says, Shana she'melech HaMashiach ba, the year that Melech HaMashiach comes, is going to be the Malkhus Paras, the kings of Paras, and that above are going to mizgar ezu bezu. There's going to be a whole, and the Yidden are very, very scared. They're running back and forth. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Melech HaMashiach comes and he's standing al gag beis hamikdash. V'oimer lahem Yisroel, he says to the Jewish people, Anavim, Anavim, my humble ones, don't be afraid. Higiyaz man gulaschem, the time of your redemption has arrived. So if you remember, I quoted a talk the Rebbe gave in Beis Rabbeinu Sheba Bavel, where the Rebbe says, hey, it can't be that Moshiach is standing on the third Beis HaMikdash. Al gag Beis HaMikdash means on the third Beis HaMikdash, because let's for one moment think about this. there's a mosque there, and followers behind that mosque that support that mosque are about 3 billion people in the world, Muslims. Raising that mosque and building a Beis HaMikdash, obviously in the minds of any normal human being right now, means World War III. Okay? It's impossible to do that. Yet once the Beis HaMikdash is standing already on that place, obviously we've seen already the greatest spectacular miracles. God forbid the missiles that are aimed at us from Iran or who knows what have been eliminated in a godly, unbelievable, miraculous way. The Beis HaMikdash got built. Obviously the Israeli government ain't building no third Beis HaMikdash. So something unbelievable is between us and that third Beis HaMikdash. Some spectacular divine intervention has to be here. And then you have a Beis HaMikdash, and the Beis HaMikdash is all completed because you even have a roof, right? And Moshiach is standing on top of that roof, and he's telling the Jewish people, Higi Azman Gulaschem, the time of your redemption, has arrived. It's all over, guys. Party's over. Fartik. We're done. Well, let's go make a l'chaim. Why Yidden scared? What's this? So the Rebbe says, no. When Moshiach is standing al Gag Beis HaMikdash means he is standing in his shul, which as discussed, if you listen to that class, we discussed it, which is the main Beis HaMikdash of the Jewish people during the time of Golus, where light goes out to the entire world, where the Beis HaMikdash Shlishi is first going to be mislabish in that place, and clothe itself in that place. The whole talk the Rebbe gave, which is worthwhile discussing. In any case, and in that place, b'makam hagolus, he's standing al Gag, and the reason why it says Gag on the roof of the Beis HaMikdash is because the roof doesn't become holy. In the real Beis HaMikdash, the roof is not holy. Gag and loy neskachu. So that's why it's emphasizing that he's standing on the roof, because it wants to say in a Beis HaMikdash that doesn't have yet Kedushas Beis HaMikdash, to the full halachically. That people that are tamei are allowed to walk in there. Doesn't have it. And in that place, Moshiach Tzidkenu stands, and he tells the Jewish people, Higi Azman Gulaschem, the time of your redemption has arrived. But here's the stunning thing. He continues. What's the last words in the Medrash? The Medrash says like this, V'im ein atem maminim, if you don't believe me. And Mordechai ben David felt that this is so important in his song, and he also sings these last words. And not only he sings it, but in all yeshiva shekumzitzen that happen across the world, in Lakewood and in Bnei Brak and in everywhere where they sit and everybody sings one of the beautiful songs that came out at that time. B'shashem Melech HaMashiach bo Yemeid al Gag Beis HaMikdash u'mashmi'a li Yisroel v'oimer Anavim, you humble ones, Higi Azman Gulaschem v'im ein atem aminim, if you don't believe me. This is clear evidence to the exact situation where we're standing now. Gewalt! Melech HaMashiach came already. He came already. He was revealed. He told the Jewish people, Higi Azman Gulaschem. And then he goes on and he says, if you don't believe me, look at my light that's shining across the world. Re'u ba'oiri shezareach. Take a look at a few talks the Rebbe gives at those times. One of them is Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel. He's explaining how that house 770 is the nerve center for Jewish operation across the world. And that there isn't a place in the world where the light of Torah, the Torah inspiration for Jews to keep Torah and mitzvahs. It's the first time in history that there is one center location that's reaching the entire world. That we really have operators ready to help every Jew. We set up a 911 system that reaches the entire world. Every Jew in every situation has an address to go to that's plugged into one singular place. And not only that, the Pnimiyas HaTorah that Moshiach has to reveal, the secrets of Torah, are making its way through all these embassies across the world for everybody to learn. For everybody to be inspired. And the Rebbe says in every language, even the language of the blind. Look at the Medrash. And you're going to say, if you believe Mashiach is what kind of Mashiach? Someone that walks in with sandals, or coming on a donkey, riding with a big shofar, and he blows it, and suddenly, boom! You look at him and you see his face shining across the entire world, and suddenly, what are they called? The graffiti, the party stuff starts falling down from the sky. Confetti starts falling across the entire world. Yay, Moshiach is here. What is the Medrash saying? Moshiach says, if you don't believe. Look at my light. What I have to, everybody knows. It's clear from the Medrash that we are going to be in a situation that we are right now, in a confused situation where we had a revelation. And again, I want to emphasize this is the most important thing, because there are people who make silly accusations. It's so important to realize that we're not talking about some guru in some cave somewhere that got a couple of followers who started believing in him, and he's weird and strange and did some weird. We're talking about a tzaddik who's coming at the end of a lineage of the greatest tzaddikim the world has seen, and a direct lineage of the holy Baal Shem Tov, who's a continuation of the holy Ari, who learned with Achia Hashiloini, the Rebbe of David HaMelech, who gave him over the deeper secrets to prepare the world for Mashiach. And he's one and smicha from the Baal Shem Tov to the Maggid. Everybody can learn and can see this. How the Maggid said he has one favorite Talmud, the one who takes his deepest essence of the holy Maggid. It's Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi. We don't have to argue about that. There's no book in all of Hasidism that is so comprehensive, giving you an entire Hasidic approach to life, like the Tanya. It just doesn't exist. You can learn a lot of Hasidic Svarim, the secrets of the Torah, and they all give inspirational, powerful, godly teachings. But there's no one that took it into a system, into a developed system. There's no one who created an entire flow of Gilui Pnimius HaTorah in the way that everybody can learn and understand. And on the Alter Rebbe was built 7 tzaddikim, or 6, one next after the other, people that had all the qualities of kings. They had the deepest, innovative. We're not dealing just another tzaddik who's revealing. It's innovative. It's totally new, but yet it's ancient. And they build. And then when it comes to the biggest challenge the Jewish people felt and experienced in the last history, when the most murderous, brutal regime stood up, lahashmid laharig, not to allow Judaism to continue in Soviet Russia. Everybody knows that it was the Lubavitcher Rebbe with his Chassidim that went on Mesiras Nefesh. Hundreds of them killed, sent to Siberia, when everybody could, no one could handle it. Dafka these Yidden with the Bali Mesiras Nefesh. And the 6th Chabad Rebbe, after going through, he himself being arrested, he himself being brutally beaten and gone through the hellish experiences of the worst of the worst, comes to America when America's a wasteland, puts his foot down and says Yiddishkeit is going to thrive over here like it did in Europe, and comes with a little handful of small group broken Chassidim. They're not broken, physically broken, but not spiritually broken, and create such a renaissance. The first and only one who took Judaism from defense into offense. And you see that every single thing that he initiated and that the Rebbe initiated following him is afterwards done by everybody. Everybody's today into Kiruv. Everybody's into all the things that the Rebbe did. Even the Rebbe spoke about birthdays. Everybody laughed at birthdays. Birthdays are goyish thing. The Rebbe said that everybody should make a birthday. So that you should celebrate your Jewish birthday. So now I'm seeing across the entire frum Jewish world, people are celebrating family members' birthdays when they reach the 70s. Families fly in. I'm seeing it family. I have an Hungarian family. Birthday, goyish thing. Now they're doing it. And I'm just giving you one little example. Lubavitch, the Rebbe being Lubavitch is also Chabad. Chabad means the brain of the Jewish people, the nerve center. has been the leaders of the Jewish people in everything. And especially, Moshiach, the Rebbe didn't come down one day out of nowhere and say, oh, Moshiach. From the day he became Rebbe, you can see he's working, building an army, developing, coming to a place of saying, Ad Mosai. Finally, at the end, like, well, how long are we going to wait? Tzivas Hashem, an army. Shluchim across the whole world. We're not talking about some newcomer out of nowhere who's coming with some idea. We're talking about something that is solidly rooted in the deepest foundations of authentic, traditional, deepest, most essential Judaism. And Lubavitch Chassidim, Yerushalayim, people that are devoted to mitzvahs, to the tiniest t, to the final letter, and all chumras in terms of zehirus and Yiddishkeit and all aspects, Regein Choyl Chol of Yisroel and Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin and beards and payas and pride. I mean everything. And then Tavshinun, the Rebbe makes that revelation. But it shouldn't be a shock to us. We shouldn't get thrown off by the notion that, hey, how come Ma'atzas Gedolei HaTorah didn't yet write a letter and endorse it? I'm addressing it because I realize that this could be a question. It's a good question. How come even in Chabad there is a struggle? People struggle with it. This is the ultimate challenge. It's the ultimate test. Now, what happens, however? In those times, the Rebbe said, however, it's up to us. In other words, he's finished his job. He's done everything he needs for the Geulah. And as we spoke earlier, the reason why it's up to us, why is it up to us? It's up to us because if we do it, then it is pneumistic, then it is ours, as opposed to if it comes from above. That puts us at a tremendous achrayas. Because Soif Kol Soif, it's 28 years already since the announcement of Egiyas Mangol Laschem, and we have not yet merited the full revelation of Moshiach. So obviously there is work that needs to be done. Now the work that needs to be done is pneumistic work. It's serious work. The question is what it is. What is that pneumistic work? So my class today was going to be on what is that pneumistic work that needs to be done. But I spent the entire class on my introduction of what is the pneumistic work that needs to be done. I'm just going to say very bekitzer, and be'ezus Hashem, in the following two classes, we're going to develop or explore and try to understand what is the avodah that needs to be done, based on what the Rebbe himself told us in that last year and a half of Sichos. That what is the avodah that needs to be done? Not year and a half, actually less than a year. From the famous talk that the Rebbe gave on the 28th day of Nisan, 1991, where the Rebbe said that I did everything I can, now I'm giving over the work to you. Until the last talk, which came about in Chodesh Adar, the same like this year, in a leap year. So let's say very bekitzer what was told to us. In Chodesh Nisan, 1991, on Chav Ches Nisan, the Rebbe then spoke to the world, and the Rebbe said that today is a Yom Zakai for Bias HaMashiach. It's Chodesh Nisan. It's a tremendous Yom Zakai for Bias HaMashiach. And therefore, after he builds in the whole talk that today is an unbelievable Yom Zakai for Bias HaMashiach, the Rebbe then says, if so, we have to ask the question, how you talking that there are so many Yidden that have gathered together and we have not yet been poil the actual Geulah. We haven't done it. And the Rebbe says, I'll quote to you some of that. What the Rebbe He said, where is it over here? Oh, sorry. Based on what we said earlier about emphasizing the Geula in this time, becomes the greatest question. How is it possible? After everything we've done, we still have not made Bias Mashiach happen. It's not understood at all. How come this has not been accomplished? To make it even greater wonder, I'll say just in English, 10 Jews gathered together, and many Jews, and such as Man Zakai, Benegei La Geula, and nevertheless, Eino Marishim, they're not tummeling, Lifoil Bias HaMashiach take off a mayat. You're holding in such a crucial time. All you need to do is push one button, and I don't sense, the Rebbe says, that energy that is needed to go ahead and push that button. For us to, basically the Rebbe says it's because it's not loy mufrach etzlam, it's not out of the question, Rachmana litzlan, that Moshiach doesn't come tonight. In other words, everybody, if Moshiach doesn't come tonight, everybody go to sleep comfortably, sleep on their pillows. No one is going to lose any sleep on it. That Moshiach didn't come. It seems like the Rebbe is saying, for me, it's mufrach. I can't sleep, but I see that you're not with me. I see I don't have anybody with me. V'gam mochar, and it's possible that tomorrow Mashiach won't come, chas v'shalom, and even the day after, lo yaveh Mashiach, rachmana litzlan, and we're okay. Everybody's Baruch Hashem, as long as we have our parnasa, as long as we have our vacations planned, as long as we have, Baruch Hashem, nothing is bothering. The Kazakh is not, coming to threaten us. And even when we cry Ad Masai, the Rebbe says, it's because I'm telling you to cry Ad Masai. It's because you're commanded to do so, meaning I'm telling you to do so. But if we would, if we would cry out truthfully, without a question that Mashiach would have come already. And the Rebbe adds, what else can I do? Yisroel, all the Jewish people, should storm and cry out be'emes and bring Bias HaMashiach. After everything that I've done till now hasn't helped. V'haraya, what's the proof? We're still in exile. V'oid v'ikr, we're still in our personal exile. Individual exile. Every person in their own Yetzer Hara exile. And here is the key to everything we're going to discuss in the next two classes. Hadavar ayechidi sheyacholnu lasos, the only thing that I can do is limsor inyan aleichem. I am giving it over to you. Asu kol asher b'yacholtechem. You do everything you're able to do. Inyanim shehem ba'oifen da'oreis tetayu. It should be in manners of wild things. That's called oireis tetayu, the energy of tayu. We're talking about something spectacular. Something that's not like, just a little something. It's something that's like, whoa, it's got the energy of Toyu, which is an infinite energy. Avo, but you have to do it in a way of Kalim the Tikkun. That means you have to bring it down into words, into explanations, into communication that is tikkunig, which means that makes sense, that people are able to absorb. Even though in essence, the message, the energy behind it is a spectacular energy. And what's this for? Lehevi b'poyeles Mashiach tzedkenu taketh meyad mamash. Here's where the Rebbe kind of says in this talk that the inyan of Bias HaMashiach is no more the Rebbe's business, it's our business. Very powerful thing. He did make mention of it already. Now really we can say this, in this talk, he further elucidated something that he said in an earlier time, in a Parshas, in a Purim Fabrengen, Tavshen Mem Zayin. Purim, the Rebbe said, from now on and onward, the inyan of Bias HaMashiach is no more the job of the Nasi, of the leader, it's the job of every single person. It's being nimsar to everybody. But in that talk, it wasn't so dramatic and so expressed like it was in this discussion. The Shabbos after this, Shabbos Parshas Shmini, which was the Farbrengen after. Now, obviously, you understand, this Sikha took Lubavitcher Chassidim by surprise. It literally, because you saw the Rebbe was pale, the Rebbe was almost like shaking when he was giving this over, and it basically, it was meant to be a shock of a shock, and it really did. And people didn't know what to do. We didn't know what he wants, what exactly is being said that we need to do. Shabbos Parshas Shmini, the Shabbos after that, the Rebbe says these words, Bepashtus, Yeder Yid, every single Jew, Anoshim men, Noshim women, and Afil Taf, and even children. Hoti Achrayas, zum Moisav Zayin and Zayin Avodah, zu bringen Moshiach Tzedkenu B'Poel Mamish. You have the responsibility to bring Moshiach. Let's understand what we're talking about over here. It's not a question. We were always doing things to bring Moshiach. Always. Every time you do a mitzvah, you're bringing Moshiach. But everybody has always felt that it's not my achrayas to bring Moshiach. The achrayas of bringing Moshiach is the tzaddikim. And obviously the tzaddik hador, it's his achrayas. Obviously it's in the hands of the Eibishter, but if anybody has the responsibility to bring Moshiach, it's the... Here the Rebbe says, no, it's the achrayas of every person. It says it over here as well. And a Yid, and the Rebbe is actually going along, you hear this talk. He says, a Yid can doch taina, and a Yid can have a taina. That's in Parshas Shmini. The bout that is a moded or mugbal, since we are all limited beings, and we have the limitations of the nature of the world. So then, how in the world, and especially, we have to eat and drink and sleep, and it's time of golus, where there's so many limitations and boundaries. So you don't even have the koach to do something small. You're saying to every person, to me, to you, to every single one of us, that you have the koach to bring the geula amitis v'ashleima. What do you want from us? And this is a good question. How can you say that it's a little tiny person? We're talking about the purpose of all of history, the ultimate job of all jobs, and we're giving that people. Zokt menem, the Rebbe says, as bias Mashiach is tolu, it's dependent in your work. Calls ma meshach hagolos. That means it has to be a type of work that you can do even when you're in exile. I mean, don't think you have to be a tzaddik shebet tzaddikim. You're in exile, and you have all the limitations of exile, all the darkness, all the hang-ups, all the Yetzer Hara, all the concealments, all the package that we all know we have, that we all kind of use as an excuse that I'm just a little nobody. Well, what am I? That's how we feel. Since the Geula didn't come yet, the Rebbe says, it does gufa raya that it's still dependent of Maseinu v'Avodesenu from our generation. And Adarabah, Dafka. In other words, the main emphasis in these two talks were, you have an achrayas to bring Moshiach. You have an achrayas to bring the Geula. Now, what does that mean exactly? In achrayas to bring the Geula? We're going to leave for next class. But what I do want to say is, what were the things that were told? Now, after that talk, it wasn't like the Rebbe stopped showing up. The Kotzker Rebbe once, for whatever reason, locked himself up in a room for 9 years. For a nice couple of years, Chassidim couldn't reach. He was closed off. It didn't happen to the Rebbe. The Rebbe didn't walk out on us after that talk and seclude himself in a room and says, listen here, wake me up when you guys are ready, because I'm going to take a nap, or I'm going to do my godly things until you're ready. Didn't do that. He continued educating and teaching us week after week what needs to be done. His tone completely changed. Here there's almost, in the talk of Parshas Chav Chesniz, there was almost like a cry of I don't want to say desperation, but it was almost such a Yidden, where are you? After that, everything changed to super positive and super empowerment. What are we told? So really, we will divide it into 4 segments. Now, basically, I myself would not have didn't on my own do the proper study to be able to give you over, these primary ideas. There is a fellow by the name of Reb Rabbi Wolf, another Wolf. So I guess I feel a connection. He lives in Tzfas. Made a sefer called In Yonei Shel Moshiach. I recommend everybody learn this book from cover to cover. And I think a lot of what I've discussed in the classes are based on his sefer. But what's really, really amazing is this particular subject he illuminates in the most spectacular way. What were we told is our avodah now? And it basically boils it down into four periods in the next year of the Rebbe's teachings. Period number one is that every single Yid has to do all that they can, lahavi liyamoisa Moshiach. That means that we have to, what exactly that means we're going to talk about in the next class, but just very brief, we have to all accelerate way beyond what we were doing till now. In what? In nothing new. Torah and mitzvahs. Spreading Chassidus, which is hafatzas Maayon, which is what brings Moshiach, knowledge of God, and even Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach, but with a tremendous emphasis on the Geula. In other words, the Geula becomes our target, becomes all of our focus, and we're all Moshiach driven. Those were the first few talks that the Rebbe was talking. Lahavili Amoisa Mashiach, and that everybody has, and that each and every one of us has the achrayus to make it happen. So we're going to discuss in the next class what that means. The second period of talk, the Rebbe opened up a whole new revelation. Not that we need to do whatever we can to bring Moshiach, but that the time has come that we have to start living in the reality of Moshiach. Because Moshiach's reality is already here in the world, so now we have an obligation to start living in the consciousness of Moshiach. So this is very different than what we just mentioned. In Lahavili Amoisa Mashiach, our drive is to bring Moshiach. It means that we put all of our aspirations and drive and energy to make Moshiach come, but Moshiach isn't here yet. We're still in Golus, and we're driven to bring Moshiach. The second phase is not that we're in Golus and we're driven to bring Moshiach, but the inyanim of the Geula, certain elements of the redemption have already begun. Certain parts of the redemption have already begun, which means, based on what I've told you earlier, that Moshiach is a transformation of the world. So it comes in Bipnimiya. So it's not a one-moment thing. It's a thing that happens. And as it seeps its way into creation and into reality and into the world, it's a deepening of the reality and an opening up of a higher consciousness. The Rebbe says in the second phase, we're already in the time when we can start experiencing that Geula state, and we have to start living in that state. How? Number one, the Rebbe says, I'll give you just a few little examples of what. First of all, he says, you can be driven with an infinite drive today, no more with a finite energy. When Mashiach will come, it will be Nizgala, how our Neshama is one with Hashem. And then you're limitless. So today's days, the Rebbe says, we can start being driven with that infinite drive in our Yiddishkeit. It's not measured. Everything is not like. Another one, he says, when Mashiach will come, we'll experience a spectacular achdus, a spectacular unity. Because once our neshama is revealed and we're all one with each other, that means that we can start living today that we care about the other Jew as much as we truly care about ourselves. More than we were able to do this any other time in history. So the Rebbe is calling that we should start living in that reality. That's the second stage. Third stage, which happened a few months later, the Rebbe says now the only avodah that needs to be is that we should prepare ourselves and our family and everybody around us lekabel pnei Moshiach tzedkenu, to actually greet Moshiach. What that means, we're going to leave for next class also. What does it mean? L'kabel p'nei Moshiach tzedkein. So again, the three phases. Phase number one, to be driven in a way that we take personal responsibility to bring Moshiach. Stage number two, that in our personal lives, you start davening like Moshiach is here already. Imagine how davening is going to be then. Start immersing yourself in Torah like Moshiach is here already. Stop worrying so much about parnasa. Drop your anxiety and your other things because Mashiach is here already. That's a big avodah. But see, that's the beauty of this man that we're talking of our time right now. The beauty of our time right now is that we can do this as our avodah as opposed to it happening from above, and it's not ours because Hashem put us into that situation. Now you can make it yours. Because you don't have yet the full Gashmiistic revelation. So it can take your work to put yourself into that Moshiach state. Thirdly, to be makabel p'nei Moshiach tzedkeinu b'poyol mamish. And the last and final stage that the Rebbe spoke about was that our avodah is to open up our eyes. Which means the Geula happened already. We're already here by the table with Moshiach tzedkeinu. The words of the Rebbe, we're already sitting by the table with Moshiach tzedkeinu. We have already the Shei Rabbi, the Leviyas, we have already. And all that is necessary is Yidden should open up their eyes and see the Geula is here. And that was the last phase that the Rebbe speaks about. 4 phases. How do we accomplish all these 4 phases? The key to all 4 is one nekuda. You see, what people don't realize is that what we are talking about right now is not silly slogans. It's not running around just making noise, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a very deep avodah. In a sense, the deepest avodah, which you couldn't ask any other generation because they didn't have the empowerment to do so, because they weren't living in this unique time. What is the deepest avodah? What it really means is, we all operate on 5 levels. We discussed nefesh, ruach, neshama, cha, yechida. Different levels of neshama. Moshiach is yechida. What this really means, what the Rebbe is talking about, is that we all uncover within ourselves our Yechida Shebenefesh, which is called the nitzutz of Moshiach that's in every Jew. When we uncover our nitzutz shel Moshiach that's inside of us, then automatically we will take responsibility for the Geula. Automatically we live in Moshiach's reality, because our nitzutz of Moshiach is not in Golus. It's not in exile, as we're going to see soon. Automatically, we become connected to Moshiach tzedkeinu, so we're being able to be makabel p'nei Moshiach, which we'll discuss what that means. And automatically, we see things differently. Our eyes are open and we see things differently. So it's really not 4 different avodas. It's one nekuda pnimis. What is that? Revealing in ourselves our own nitzutz of Moshiach. And you'll say, well, how is the whole world going to do that? Don't worry about the whole world, just yourself. Be megala in yourself the nitzutz of Moshiach. How do you do that? How will we be megala nitzutz of Moshiach? How will we do that? And this is the final thing I'm saying today, and the most important. The Rebbe says, Haderech HaYeshara, the direct way of doing it, is to study diligently about Moshiach. When you study about Moshiach, you learn about it in Torah. Torah will reveal your Mashiach, your connection to Mashiach. And you will start breathing differently, living differently. Your very, very heartbeat will change into the rhythm of Mashiach. Torah is, that's the way to go. So we have to seriously learn in Yana Geula Mashiach. That will be Megala, the spark of Mashiach that's in each and every one of us, which will enable us and empower us to do the 4 avodas that the Rebbe gave us during that year of what needs to be done. Be'ezus Hashem, in next week's class, I'm not going to do introductions anymore about the Inyan, but we're going to go straight to the Inyan. I want to talk about this. Now, the class cannot be Sunday morning because I already scheduled something else for Sunday morning over here because I thought that would be over. So I'm thinking that Sunday evening next week. And then the following week, we'll do it again Sunday morning. So like this, we'll have a Torah Shlema, hopefully, of what is. And then, Hersh, the work will really start. To really start all over again and learn it really deeply, Be'iyun, so that we can all uncover the spark of Moshiach inside of us and get the work done. Baruch Hashem, I do want to say that there's a tremendous educator, I spoke about it Friday night, amongst the ladies in the world, that to prepare today for Moshiach. It's unbelievable, this educator that's sweeping in a frenzy across the Jewish world. And it's a sign that, for sure, that being that the Geula is in the world already, that's why the purest souls, the souls of the women, are sensing it, feeling it, and getting on the Moshiach train. Hopefully, they'll let some of the men hang on the back of the train so that we can also come to the Geula and not be ashamed. Bottom line is, we're living in the most awesome time. We're living in the most incredible time, and each and every one of us can be part of the greatest, not just event, but I don't know what to say, the greatest, I don't even have a word. I don't have a word to describe what the greatest. The ultimate, we can make the difference. And the Eibishter himself is waiting for a courageous Jew to do his work. May the Eibishter give us all the schus that we should take part in this incredible project. And not say, krechts, oi, I heard this already. No krechts. Take the bull by its horns and let's do it. We could do it, we will do it, and we will do it now. May we merit to see it.